What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you how to get the best gear early in Path of Exile 2. In this guide we will dive into the complexities of item acquisition and the most effective strategies for gearing your character. From item rarities to crafting, then from best farming locations to the best weapons. Basically, I will cover everything that you need to know to get your character ready for the endgame in the most efficient way. The item system in Path of Exile 2 is very mechanic rich, which can be overwhelming for new players. With numerous item types, rarities and affixes, understanding how to efficiently gear up is crucial for progressing in the game. In POE 2 there are 10 gear slots, or 9 if you're using a two-handed weapon. Additionally, players can equip up to 5 flasks, and allocate cluster or normal jewels in the passive skill tree to further enhance their character. Then furthermore, gear is also divided into several categories, including weapons, helmets, body armor, gloves, boots, and accessories like necklaces, rings, and belts. Flasks are also a critical component of your character's survival and performance, with life, mana, and utility flasks offering various effects. Next up, I will split the whole progression into 3 stages, and then I will cover each one, and how to get the best gear depending on in which part you're currently at. And these stages are getting gear in the campaign, then in the early to mid game, and then at the full end game. So let's start with the first one, and gearing up in the campaign is relatively straightforward. Most players will focus on increasing their damage output and survivability through skill gems and passive tree bonuses. While for the gear, you will want to focus on basic stats like life and resistance. During the early stages of campaign, you will most likely rely on magic and rare items, with affixes that boost your character's life and resistance. Your weapon should prioritize flat damage to make your skills more potent. This basic setup will carry you through most of the campaign, and at this point there's no best gear or specific items that you should farm, as the campaign is just a brief introduction to the game itself, and you will be getting better gear left and right. Then next, let's take a look at the early/mid-game gearing. Once you reach the early stages of mapping, which should happen around level 65, after completing the campaign, it's very crucial to ensure that your character's resistances are capped and that you're equipped with a strong weapon. At this stage, it's common to farm identified rare items for Chaos Recipe to generate currency and purchase necessary uniques or key pieces for your build. One of the most important tools for mid-game gearing is having an optimized loot filter. This ensures that you only see valuable items drop, helping you focus on what's important without getting overwhelmed by useless gear. Within a few hours of farming and progressing through maps, you should have acquired enough items to fill out your gear slots and be ready to tackle tier 16 maps comfortably. Of course, depending on your class and ascendancy, what specific gear should you run and look for entirely will depend on your build and playstyle. And that's why I've made and will keep making new build guides for every single character. So if you're interested in them, then just scroll through my channel. And now finally we have come to the endgame. And by the way, after this section we will go into the rarities, how to get unique items, how to modify gear, how to craft them, and much more. So the endgame is where Path of Exile 2 truly shines, but it can also be the most grind intensive part of the game. Gearing up for the endgame requires careful planning and farming. You will need to fine-tune each piece of your gear to push your build to its full potential, and this often means significant time investment. Farming currency and gear in PoE's 2 endgame involves running maps, taking on bosses, and engaging in other activities such as breaches, delirium, and expeditions. With the right strategy, you can quickly acquire powerful items or enough currency to buy endgame gear from other players. For most players, a fully optimized endgame build will require approximately 1 mirror of the Calandra worth of gear that are basically the uber rares for Diablo 4 players, which usually can take anywhere from 100 to 200 hours of farming. The whole endgame experience can be very complicated at the start, so here I've summarized the best activities that are worth your time to get the best possible gear. So first, they should be self-explanatory, but after level 65, you should explore the Atlas of Worlds by using the Waystones to discover various endgame activities. Second, keep an eye out for relics to enhance the future runes, and jewels to make your character stronger. Then third, I recommend to collect socketed items and soul cores to go into them. There are also several endgame activities. Each one gives their own rewards, so for a full endgame breakdown, watch my previous endgame video. Then fifth, breaches are 100% worth doing, as if you kill monsters quickly, you'll gain powerful rewards, including cataclysms and breach rings. Then next, expeditions are also worth doing, as you can place explosives to explosively excavate undead horrors to then defeat them for artifacts. Afterwards, you can trade these artifacts to the Kalgurans for a variety of rewards. Next, you also want to do the ritual. You can sacrifice slain enemies in a circle and collect tributes, which you can exchange for powerful crafting omens. And finally, look out for essences, as you can release trapped monsters only to kill them to then loot essences. This is a very powerful crafting currency that adds a specific affix to your items. And a bonus tip, you can also enhance these endgame mechanics by using your Atlas passive tree. Also, as you participate in them, keep an eye out for keys to pinnacle boss encounters, where you can face off against POE 2's strongest enemies, and obtain special uniques, where you can face off against POE 2's strongest enemies. But uniques require a whole dedicated video, so be lookout for that tomorrow. Next, let's take a look at the item rarities, how unique items work, how to modify them, and much more. So items in Path of Exile 2 come in 4 different rarities: normal, magic, rare, and unique. These rarities will influence the potential power and customization of each item, with everything but uniques being fully modifiable. Uniques provide significant bonuses, often with exclusive affixes, and are crucial for specific builds. The rarity of an item determines how many affixes it can have. Let's start off with the magic items. These are the second tier in PoE 2, as they're typically considered a starting gear. You can find them as early as the first areas in the campaign. Magic items can have up to 2 affixes, 1 prefix and 1 suffix, offering a slight boost compared to normal items. As you progress through the campaign, these items are usually replaced by rare items. Additionally, magic items serve a niche purpose in crafting. Players often can apply alteration orbs to magic items, aiming for a specific rare modifier. This is useful for preparing a clean base for crafting a powerful endgame item. Then next we have rare items, which are at the core of itemization in Path of Exile 2, being the most common gear across various builds. These items can roll up to 6 explicit affixes, so 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes, giving them enormous potential for customization and versatility. Rare items allow players to build gear tailored to their needs, whether boosting damage, survivability, or utility. And now finally we have the unique items, which represent the pinnacle of gear in Path of Exile 2, by offering a range of powerful affixes and exclusive modifiers. These modifiers often alter gameplay significantly, providing special interactions with skills, or even unlocking a new mechanic. Many builds revolve around specific uniques, making them essential for the endgame progression. In PoE 2, uniques are categorized into tiers, based on their power level. For example, uniques like the Headhunter, the Mage Blood, and the Calendar's Touch are considered a tier 0 because of their game-defying effects. The more powerful the unique, the lower its job chance, making them highly sought after. Obtaining unique items in Path of Exile 2 can be done in 3 main ways. First, we have Uber or normal boss jobs. Some uniques are tied to specific bosses in the endgame, with each boss having its own unique loot pool. Uber bosses offer an increased chance for these items, and may also drop uniques from the normal version of the encounter. The rarest uniques often have a drop chance of around 2%. Second, we have the random drops. Many uniques can drop from many monsters in the game, though the chance is very low. By utilizing Magic Find, a specific gear pieces can increase your odds of finding these uniques while farming. And lastly, we have the divination cards. Certain high-tier uniques are tied to divination cards, which drop from specific maps or enemies. After collecting a full set ranging from 1 to 21 cards, players can exchange the set for a specific unique item. Every ascendancy and build will have different uniques and specific items that you will have to farm, but here I will list some of the most popular uniques that are very overpowered, and if your build doesn't need it, then you should definitely sell it for a huge profit. So first we have the Original Sin. This converts all elemental damage to the chaos damage, and provides an aura that reduces nearby enemies' chaos resistance to 0. Second, we have the Mage Blood. This makes your leftmost 4 flask effect persistent. Next we have the Headhunter. This allows your character to steal modifiers from rare monsters upon killing them. Then next we have the Calendar's Touch. This duplicates all the modifiers from your other ring. Next we have Progenesis. This will stagger a portion of the damage taken over 4 seconds. Then also we got voices. This item adds 3 additional cluster jewel sockets to your passive skill tree. And finally we have the squire. The gems that are socketed in the shield are linked to the gems in your main hand. Next, let's take a look at another main source of power for your character, which are affixes. Items can have up to 6 affixes, split between prefixes and suffixes. These affixes provide a variety of offensive and defensive stats, including flat damage, increased damage percentages, maximum life, and elemental or chaos resistances. Affixes are divided into tiers, which determine the strength of the modifier. Some affixes have only one tier, while others can have up to 11. Tier 1 affixes are the most powerful, but have a much lower chance of rolling compared to the mid-tier modifiers. Typically, a tier 1 has a set rarity, while lower tiers are twice as likely to roll, except for few special cases where all tiers have an equal value. Overall, there are 3 main categories that you should know. First, we have the implicits. These are modifiers that are intrinsic to the item base. These cannot usually be modified, except by using the blessed orbs to reroll the values. Examples of the implicit modifiers include increased elemental damage on weapons, movement speed on boots, or projectile speed on quivers. Then second, we have the prefixes. These occupy half of the explicit affixes on an item and typically provide offensive or defensive bonuses. These can include flat damage, percentage increase to armor, evasion, or energy shield, and other unique bonuses depending on the item's origin, such as those found in the Vaal temples of the Delve areas. And finally we got suffixes. These account for the other half of the explicit affixes and typically grant bonuses such as critical strike chance, attack speed, or resistances. The items that are dropped by specific bosses or in specific content often have special suffixes that provide even more powerful or unique effects related to the theme of the influence. Next, we have item levels and max gear. The level of your gear in Path of Exile 2 is determined by the area level where the item is dropped. Item level is important for crafting and determining which affixes can roll onto an item and their maximum possible tier. Items can reach a maximum level of 88. This is achievable from strong boxes with a modifier that adds +5 to the item level of jobs in tier 16 maps. To acquire max item level gear, players should run the highest tier maps available and engage with mechanics that increase the item level of jobs, such as strong boxes with the appropriate modifier. Since level is based on an area level, combining these strategies will maximize the gear's item level. While item level doesn't directly affect an item's power, it plays a crucial role in determining the affixes that can roll on the item and their maximum tier. In some cases, farming items with specific or lower items can help with crafting by limiting the number of affixes available, making it easier to obtain the specific item you want when crafting. And now finally, let's take a look at how players can obtain gear, as it can be very challenging, requiring many hours of grinding, solid crafting experience, or perhaps figuring out a crafting method on your own. So first we have crafting. Crafting is one of the most powerful ways of obtaining gear in Path of Exile 2. The game's crafting system allows players to build items from scratch, offering a vast variety of materials that can yield different outcomes. This means that with a good understanding of crafting mechanics, players can create items with nearly any desired combination of affixes. One of the advantages of crafting is the potential to create a best-in-slot item at a lower cost than their market price. For knowledge players, this can also be a profitable venture, as crafting sought-after items for popular builds can generate significant in-game currency. Additionally, crafting is an enjoyable process, although aiming for perfect stats on every modifier can be daunting. The unexpected results and the satisfaction of rolling powerful affixes can make the experience highly rewarding. However, crafting is not without its downsides. Even with deterministic crafting mechanics, luck plays a role. Sometimes you will need to repeat certain steps multiple times to get the desired result. These RNG-heavy portions can lead to overspending, making the item more expensive to craft than buying it upfront. While crafted items often cost less in the long run, if you are on a tight budget, it may be more prudent to buy the item outright. But if you have room in your budget and are looking for a fun, potentially rewarding experience, then crafting is a great option. If you're interested in interior crafting or simulating your crafts, websites like the Craft of the Exile provides emulators, calculators, and affix weighting tests to optimize your crafting process to the max. Then the second method is a straight up farming. Farming gear directly, especially rare items, is typically insufficient due to the vast pool of possible affixes and their tiers. Expecting to drop an item with 5 or more favorable affixes is extremely rare, considering the millions of possibility combinations out there. Instead, most players focus on farming currencies or materials, which then they can trade for gear or use for crafting. Farming provides a consistent income per hour, and you can then use those proceeds to acquire your desired items or crafting materials. For unique items, divination cards tied to specific maps make the farming more targeted and efficient. In this case, you can run profitable maps that drop cards for your targeted uniques, adding both currency and divination card drops to your earnings. And once you've farmed enough currency or collected enough cards, you can then purchase additional cards, or obtain a full stack through the raw drops. The most efficient way to farm gear in Path of Exile 2 is by targeting Uber bosses or farming divination cards for uniques that are very targeted. For rare gear, farming currency and trading with other players is more reliable. If you're looking for specific rare gear pieces, farming crafting materials and crafting the items yourself is often the best route. And now finally we have buying/trading. Buying items from other players is often the simplest and the most direct method to gear up in Path of Exile 2. Instead of spending hours of farming or crafting, you can trade for the exact item you need, provided that you have enough currency. While buying gear is more straightforward, prices on the market tend to be higher than the average cost of crafting the same item. This is due to the time and effort invested by the players who craft or farm these items. However, buying can be the most efficient strategy if you're short on time and need to upgrade your character quickly. The in-game economy allows for fluid transactions, where players can exchange their farm currency for gear, making the trading a key aspect of POE's 2 endgame gearing process. Trading currency for items is one of the most efficient and common methods players use to acquire best-in-slot gear and prepare their character for the full endgame. The main advantage of trading over crafting or farming is the certainty of acquiring the exact item with the specific stats you need. The trading eliminates the RNG elements associated with the crafting, such as the risk of crafting an unwanted affix or wasting resources. It also saves player time by not having to research or figure out a complex crafting method themselves. Additionally, you avoid the hassle of sourcing crafting materials, which can be time consuming, especially if specific items are overpriced or scarce in the market. Trading is a straightforward and safe approach, as it allows you to avoid the uncertainties and time investment, particularly when required materials or crafting methods are complicated. So now in my final conclusion, ultimately, crafting, farming and trading each have their own pros and cons when it comes to obtaining gear in Path of Exile 2. Crafting offers the potential to create a top tier item at a lower cost, but it requires significant game knowledge and tolerance for RNG. Then farming is a reliable way to earn consistent income, which can be then used to either trade for gear or craft it yourself. Then buying, on the other hand, is the quickest method to get your desired items, but often comes at a premium price. I recommend to choose the method that suits your playstyle and budget. For those that enjoy the thrill of crafting and are looking for a rewarding experience, then experimenting with the crafting mechanic is ideal. However, if you're more focused on efficiency and prefer straightforward gameplay, then farming currency and trading may be the better option. So, if you enjoyed this video, click like, subscribe and comment. If you're interested in more content, then check out my channel and I will see you in the next one. So take it easy, peace.